podcast. The Idlecast.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legends of the universe.
Scott McDermott.
I was bit by a black widow in Hamul in my sleep.
Harrison Perkins.
Every muscle in my body is clenching right now.
And
Scott Clark.
You know, I would like to get to know a tarantula.
their mission to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Super Friends.
Good morning, Vietnam!
We'll do it live. No. We'll do it live.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
You're not Jim. Jim's not Asian.
You seriously never noticed? Hey, hats off to you for not seeing race.
You're enlightened. You don't see race. I had to watch that clip a couple of times to figure out what was going on because that wasn't actually Jim. It was a psychological experiment.
That's true. Or a prank.
A prank, yes.
It was the picture of Asian Jim and all the Asian kids that really got Dwight, the look on his face when he saw that.
Yeah. I thought that was amusing.
It was indeed. I'm entertained.
So, yeah, well, we try. Hi, boys. How are you?
So good.
It's the end of January. So last time we didn't talk about the holidays. We had been apart for a while, and we had a lot of things to catch up on.
Biggest announcement.
So,
Scott Clark's commentary on the Heidelberg Catechism was a bestseller at WTS Books for 2025. Congratulations.
And it came out at the very end of the year and it was a bestseller.
That's good.
That's really good, I think. I don't know.
was it for the whole year or
Yeah,
just for
2025 bestseller.
Oh, interesting.
Stop being humble.
Yeah, you keep doubting me that this is like an achievement.
I do. Yes, I do.
You've sold a lot of copies of this book.
Okay.
He said, no, I bought all the copies. How many did you buy? 12.
Yeah, I don't think 12 ranks it as bestseller.
It was not going to be a bestseller, but then you bought 12 copies.
You don't have to
and now
commend
it's a
yourself,
bestseller.
but accept it that we are.
Okay. All right. Well, people, they ask me, well, I want to publish a book. And I always tell them, I don't know anything about this. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. So I've done it several times, but I still don't, as my reviewers will doubtless note, he still doesn't know what he's doing. But that's exciting. I'm looking forward to harvesting some of the fruit of that.
The royalties.
When all that happens.
Yeah. The big checks that roll in off these things.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, however that goes. I had one publisher who couldn't manage to send royalties for like 10 years. They couldn't figure it out. They're overseas. They finally did. All of a sudden, small amounts of money began popping up in one of my accounts.
Well, after 10 years, I'd hope at least the first one was decent.
I don't know. No, I always wondered, what did you, and I asked them, what have you been doing with the money that you say that you're sending me? Because I've never seen any of it. Anyway, but they finally figured it out somehow. Anyway, tell me about your holidays. How was it? I mean, I know it's a month past now, but for ministers, the holidays can be actually really, and I guess for everybody in some ways, stressful. Just the traveling and the seeing people and the shopping and all that stuff. And the change, it's really amazing how life changes during the holiday season, particularly the Christmas season. But for ministers, it's stressful because your whole sort of life has to turn on a dime. And then in December, whatever preaching you were doing oftentimes has to become, sort of Christmas oriented. And then there's extra services. And depending on how observant your congregation is of the calendar, you could have a Sunday service, you could have a Christmas Eve service, you have a Christmas Day service, and
yeah, we have a Christmas Eve gathering, and I need to put more effort. I mean, I did a message last year. Both of them, I was shocked by how well attended they were, and so I probably need to put more organizational effort into it next year. I mean, the message is what it was, and I don't think that I shorted on that, but I just probably need to think out like songs and what we do with a little bit more thoroughness. Because if people are going to come, I just assumed it'd be like me and one of the elders and a cat. But there were more there. There were lots of people there. So
did you exchange gifts
at home?
Do you guys do that sort of thing? Yeah, at home.
Scott, what'd you get?
What I mean, did you get anything fun, Scott?
Oh, put me on the spot. Yes, I did.
That's what we do here. On the Super Friends.
You know those decanters
Mm-hmm.
that you put alcohol in?
Mm-hmm.
I got a baseball bat decanter.
Oh, nice.
And it's like perched up on top of it, and below there's baseball rocks glasses.
Oh.
My brother-in-law who works in baseball got that for me, and it's one of the coolest gifts that I've ever received. And I did get other nice things. I just thought that was like, when I saw it, I said, I know exactly who that's from, and I know why he did that. And
that's very thoughtful.
Yeah.
A decanter is just a container of spirits. Is that right?
Yeah, you know, if you watch TV, it's like a wealthy person has this little bourbon or Scotch glass container that holds it. So I thought that's what a decanter was. But this takes it to the next level. It is a glass baseball bat.
Oh, nice.
That's on brand for you.
Very nice.
I like it. I'm happy you got that.
Yeah. I said, I wonder who this is from.
How about you, Harrison?
I got some socks, which I'm wearing some of them right now. They have Scooby-Doo on them.
Well, when you're in Detroit, that's not a small thing.
You need socks. I also got a new fountain pen, and here it is.
Who's the manufacturer?
Which you
Schaefer.
introduced me to this, and this is a new one, and I'm glad to have this. And I got a Lego kit of Optimus Prime from the Transformers.
For your son?
Sure. Yeah.
That's
cool. You and Scott did it, right?
Well, yeah, we were there at the table together as the Millennium Falcon was assembled.
We saw the progress on social media. You posted photos of it on X, formerly Twitter.
Yeah, this one is not as elaborate as that one. But yes, I imagine he will. He keeps saying, "Open this and build it." I can't just yet. So last week I had a funeral, a wedding, Sunday school, and 2 sermons. And he kept wanting me to open this. So it was, Friday was funeral at 3, rehearsal at 5, Saturday morning or early afternoon. I had to be at the church at 11, wedding, Sunday school, morning service, evening service. And he kept being like, open this and build it. I'm like, nope, not this week.
Yeah.
I didn't plan on seeing midnight on New Year's Eve, but I did. But it was at my desk writing things, not...
Okay. Not building the Millennium Falcon. No. Well, I'm sorry for the loss in your congregation. So
thank you.
I enjoyed the picture of the Den Boers. That was nice.
Yeah, it was good so it was, we have one of the Den Boer family, one of the contingents from the wider Den Boer family in our congregation, and one of the daughters got married. It was a joyous thing. Happy for her, happy for her new husband, and glad to have Mrs. Den Boer, the matriarch Mrs. Den Boer with us, as well as some of your members from Escondido URC and just Escondido in general. Glad to have them with us.
Yeah, that's
cool. I love weddings, especially like winter weddings. As a minister, I think that a wedding is one of the coolest things you can do, right up there with baptisms. And
good.
Scott, so
something
listeners,
holy
Scott
about
is
it, sacred.
Scott is poking Harrison a little bit. We were having a conversation about the status of weddings. How ministers should think about weddings.
They're one of the most stressful aspects.
Lord's Supper, baptism, and then like just a little bit lower of a level, marriage.
I mean, it's like, the thing is, if you get it exactly right, it means you aren't noticed.
He just cast that fly out there. No, he reeled it right in. Harrison bit right on that.
And if you get it wrong, there you are, right there. And
there is a lot of pressure. I agree with that. There is a lot of pressure. I'm talking about ecclesiologically how beautiful it is.
it was the hottest. It was the hottest I've ever been during a wedding. I was so warm, and I don't know if that was because I was stressed more than you. I mean, I
there is a lot of pressure with weddings. You have to get things, because there's a lot of pressure to get things right, and everybody wants everything to go well. And actually, I think it's worse now in some ways because they are so proportionally more expensive than they were. We got married for what today would cost about $5,000. And you can't even get started with a wedding, apparently, today. Apparently, I'm told you can't get started with a wedding for $5,000. And so it's just become this huge production. People take trips before the wedding, obviously separately, bride and groom. And I have flashes of memories of our wedding. And I just don't think it was anywhere near this complicated. I felt pressure. I had to learn to dance, and I could barely walk. So that was a challenge.
For your wedding?
So but at our recent wedding that we had in our house. Yeah. So this one, it went okay, but
holy matrimony. Love it.
Just light, tight, and bright. That's my advice for wedding.
It's just absolutely. Sure. It's just like, I'm the one who can mess this up.
One of many, actually. There are a lot of moving parts. Any number of things. People can pass out. Somebody can the best man can lock up his knees and he could pass out.
Yeah, but that's not going to be his fault. At least that's not how people are going to perceive it.
If you don't bend your knees while you're standing up there and you've been told to bend your knees, you're kind of an idiot.
They'll still feel bad for him.
So,
if I mess it up, they won't feel bad for me. They'll say, your pastor is dumb.
No, that is true.
See,
that's true.
You can't win. You can come out neutral and break even, or you can get it wrong.
Well, that's right. You're kind of like a referee. If nobody notices you, you did all right. But if you mess up, then they paid attention to you.
Yep. So, but it worked. They got married. So happy for that.
Yeah, exactly. I got from one of my children a red panda sweater. I'm a big fan, huge fan of red pandas.
That's true, you are.
So you boys can mock me all you
Why
will.
Why would we?
I
Those are
really
cool creatures.
Come on, I'm going to mock you for suggesting we mock you.
It's not the most masculine thing that anyone has ever worn, but I love it. It's a heavy sweater, and it has the when red pandas want to play or when they're being sort of faux defensive, they stand up and put their paws up. And
so clarification: is this red panda sweater? Does it have a picture of a red panda, or does it make you look like a red panda?
No. No, it just has a picture of a red panda.
I mean, I thought that was important.
In front of it.
Listeners will want to.
Yes, exactly. I'm not dressing up like a red panda. Not yet, anyway.
That's a marsupial, yes? It's like a raccoon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's in that family.
The raccoon family?
It's in Tibet, if memory serves. They belong to China.
Free Tibet, that's what I always say.
They're on loan from China. China! Right, they have all the red pandas. We're not allowed to breed them, so we can't have them as pets, which I think is criminal. Are we ready to open the coffer?
Yes.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Super Friends.
All right. Gotta reach in here. It's amazing how squeaky this thing is.
And how you keep mentioning it and never do anything about it.
Yeah. Well, that's not true. I've oiled it, but it doesn't seem to do any good. I don't know why that is. But all right, this is from Anonymous.
It's also amazing how that creak is the same rhythm every time.
Yeah, it is.
Incredible that you are equally paced 5 times a week.
It's a solidly made piece of equipment. It's old, but I just can't seem to deal with the squeak. I mean, it wouldn't be great if it didn't have the squeak.
We had 34 people show up to our Christmas morning service. That's pretty good, isn't it? I was impressed. I mean, only 65 show up on the Lord's Day. So
okay. At Escondido United Reformed Church, it's rather full on the holidays typically.
Do you have a Christmas Day service?
Yes, Christmas morning.
And how many people generally show up full house?
I don't. Yeah, I couldn't say. It's fairly full. I don't.
Oh, it's one of my favorite.
It's not a Lord's Day service.
Unless it's on the Lord's Day.
Yeah, if it's on a Lord's Day, yeah, absolutely. It's a Sabbath.
Yeah.
So
that's why it's impressive, I think, that half of our people came. Now, I have an interesting question. If you had a Wednesday night scripture reading, exhortation, some hymns, would you feel more compelled to go to that or a Christmas morning service or a Christmas Eve service? Because it seems to me like some Reformed people will protest the fact that there is a Christmas Eve or a Christmas morning service, and they'd be much more happy to go to just, it's a Wednesday night thing that we do at our church every week, and we, teach on the catechism, or there's a exhortation and some discussion and some songs and a prayer. What's your view on that, just out of curiosity?
I think the attendance to those things are good and edifying and matters of Christian liberty.
And equal, right? Like you wouldn't say, I'm not going to Christmas because it's on Christmas.
No, I think they have roughly the same status.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
I was just curious. What about you, Harold?
I don't know. I go where my session tells me.
That's a good Presbyterian answer.
He's a company man.
And happily so.
The text message came to 760-618-1563. Dear Dr. Clark, I am so thankful for your teaching, especially helping those, many of us, who God is using you and our historic faith to strengthen what was formerly lacking. Regarding your present series, it seems clear to me now that the Abrahamic covenant is the carryover covenant, fulfilled in and by Christ. My question is that in Galatians especially, Paul's beef with the Judaizers is not only, it seems, their insistence on Moses, which of course is a major concern, but also their insistence on the sign of the Abrahamic covenant, namely circumcision. In his summary statements in Galatians 5:6 and 6:15, he points out the sign of Abraham as the problem. In Galatians 5:3, he does say, in effect, your taking the sign of Abraham means you have to fulfill Moses. What is the link between the two, and how are we to see this continuance of Abraham with its new sign, baptism, which Paul never mentions in Galatians, save 3:27. Even there, he does not say this sign rather than that sign. It seems to me that Paul connects Abraham and Moses in 5:3. Can you help clarify? Is he answering the question in 3:22 and following? All right. Do we understand the question?
I think I understand the issue. It's a long question with several things there. I think I understand what he's after.
Good. I'm glad one of us or two of us do.
So, I mean, it boils down to what's the connection of if circumcision is the problem, that circumcision belongs to Abraham, what's its relationship to the law that the Galatians the Galatian Judaizers seem to be imposing as a condition of justification? And so I think that there's multiple things going on here. And one is there's different aspects to the problem in Galatians. And I think that the question in front of us assumes that the Galatian Judaizers had a right perspective on something, because he's asking about if it's the sign of circumcision from the Abrahamic covenant, how does this become a condition for fulfilling the whole law, which was given under Moses? And I think that's one of the problems that actually Paul's addressing, is that, yes, the Judaizers were insisting on circumcision as an aspect of obedience, but I think that particular issue is something that they misunderstood, the point of circumcision in general. I think that it was a sign and seal of the righteousness that Abraham had by faith. And in that sense, it was sacramental and not legal in the way that it was appointed for to function in the Abrahamic covenant.
The Judaizers turned it into a legal thing.
Right, exactly.
Right. The Judaizers corrupted it. So I took it that the subtext of this text is that the Abrahamic sign is the problem. And if you want to make baptism an Abrahamic sign, aren't you continuing the same problem? And implicitly, Abraham is Moses. Did I read something into that text?
I struggle to, I mean, that's a potential background here. And I'm trying to restrict myself to what he says rather than read between the lines.
Okay, good. That's all right. Let's do that. So let's clarify. Abraham is not Moses, and the issue in Galatians isn't Abraham. The problem isn't the Abrahamic covenant or the Abrahamic sign per se. The problem is what the Judaizers were doing to it, the Judaizing corruption of the sign, and saying that you have righteousness before God in some way, either on the basis of or through circumcision. And that's why Paul says that, if you take circumcision for religious reasons, particularly now in the new covenant, you put yourself on a works footing before God.
I think that you're right. The sign of the Abrahamic covenant as such wasn't the problem for the Galatians, but a misinterpretation of the sign of the Abrahamic covenant, which then made it, turned it from a sacramental sign and seal into a legal condition. That was the problem. And then reckoning with what Paul is doing there, he says, yes, if you have any legal condition, it's not just that one, it's you're obligated to fulfill the whole law. Yeah. So you can't isolate one aspect of obedience and say that one thing is enough to be justified. You've got to adopt obedience to the whole, every jot and tittle of the whole law as the condition.
If you place yourself on a works footing, then you're on a works footing. If you get circumcised, because Paul did ultimately circumcise Timothy so that he wasn't a stumbling block to evangelizing Jews, right? But if you circumcise yourself with the intent of saying, right, this is part of my righteousness before God, then you're obligated to fulfill the whole law. And then he quotes Deuteronomy 27:26, cursed is everyone who does not continue to do everything which is written in the book of the law. And as we said in the last episode, last week, Romans 2:13, it's not the hearers of the law who are righteous with God, it's the doers of the law. If you're going to try to present yourself to God on a works footing, whether through circumcision or baptism, you can do the same thing with baptism. You can say, I took baptism, I was baptized, I received baptism as a kind of a covenant of works. Now you're on a works footing. And Paul says, if you're on a works footing, well, this is what the law requires. And guess what? You can't do it. And you haven't done it because you haven't loved God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. And you won't do it. That's why Jesus came. And so you're undermining grace. If it's by grace, it's no longer by works. You have to choose. There are these two mutually exclusive principles when it comes to justification and salvation. It's either by grace or it's by works. And isn't it important here that he presents circumcision not as Abrahamic, Paul does, because the Judaizers are trying to put people back under the law and back under Moses, back under the 613 commandments and so forth.
I think he accepts their premise for the sake of argument.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and reasons on that ground. I don't think he's accepting that they are correct. I think he's reasoning from their assumption.
That's exactly right.
But then he goes on to argue that Abraham and Moses are not the same.
That's right. And that's a fundamental distinction, right? Abraham is 430 years before Moses. And Moses came as a temporary, typological, in this aspect, typological addition or codicil, basically is what he says, to the Abrahamic. And the Mosaic is distinct in that way. And it, unlike Abraham, expired at the cross. The ceremonial laws expired. The judicial laws expired. Circumcision as a bloody type and shadow of Christ's death expired, and it has no more religious significance. The whole religious system, all of those ceremonial laws, so the 613 laws, the judicial laws, the ceremonial laws, they all expired because they were all pointing to Christ, and Christ came. Christ fulfilled all of that, and we're no longer under that. Not to say that we're not under the moral law as an abiding norm and guide for the Christian life. That's another thing. So it's pretty essential that we distinguish Moses and Abraham here. They're two distinct administrations, even though they are bound together by the substance of the covenant of grace.
So part of the clarification that I think he needs as this question comes to us is to make sure we're, as you always say, keep reading, see what are the distinctions he's making. He's arguing for the fact that Abraham and Moses aren't the same, and so the sign of the Abrahamic covenant shouldn't be the problem. But then, is he answering the as this text message puts it? Can you help clarify? Is he answering the question in 3:23? Now, I'm wondering if he means 3:21 because I actually don't see a question in 3:23. So assuming that's the case, is the law then contrary to the promises of God? Well, it's not, because it does something different. I mean, especially as he's dealing with these as covenants, that the promise isn't nullified or conditioned by the giving of the law, because the law was given as a pedagogue unto Christ, not as a way to receive the promise.
Which we talked about in the last episode, right? Galatians 3:21. But is the law contrary to the promises of God? Certainly not. For if a law had been given that could give life, now this is after the fall, we're not talking about Adam here, then righteousness would indeed be by the law. But the Scripture imprisoned everything under sin, so that the promise by faith in Jesus Christ might be given to those who believe. Now, before faith came, we're talking about the external administration of the covenant of grace, we were held captive under the law, imprisoned until the coming faith would be revealed. Now, this isn't to say there was no grace or faith before the new covenant. He's talking in, is it fair to say, in somewhat hyperbolic terms here? He's talking about the external administration of the covenant of grace and the progress of redemptive history. So then, the law was, as we said last time, it says guardian in the ESV, I guessed. That's maybe even worse than tutor. It's pedagogue is what the Greek word is, and I won't go back over that. You can listen to the previous episode. Until Christ came, in order that we might be justified by faith. So the law was tutoring them. The law was whipping them, pointing them to Christ. But that's under Moses. And so that's part of the distinct character of the Mosaic administration of the covenant of grace. Now, keep reading, but also Moses is not Abraham.
Call or text now, 760-618-1563.
And so when it comes to chapter 5, where he's, struggling more, the verse that he's mentioning, I testify again to every man who accepts circumcision that he is obligated to keep the whole law. I think this is one of those instances where we have to remember this isn't a treatise written out of nowhere. This is a pastoral letter addressing a problem. And these are people saying you have to accept circumcision to be justified.
Yeah.
So I don't think his point is if you have circumcision, now you have to do every jot and tittle. I think it's if you're buying into this idea that your one work is necessary for justification, then you have to do all the works.
Yeah, that's right.
And that means that it's your works. That's why verse 4 is you're severed from Christ, you who would be justified by the law. You've fallen away from grace because if it's by works, it's no longer by grace. Romans 11:6.
Yeah.
For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision counts for anything, but only faith working through love. So you can't suggest any deed as a premise to be right before God, or else then you go from being under the covenant of grace to under the covenant of works.
Yeah. The fulfillment of the law is not circumcision, it's love. You should love your neighbor as yourself, he says in 5:14. Of course, the Galatians are not doing that, but if you bite and devour one another, watch out that you are not consumed by one another. The very thing that the Judaizers were trying to get, they were actually destroying. They're trying to, they think this is the way to sanctity. And the way to sanctity is not the Judaizing way, it's the gospel way. That's the irony of the whole thing. They're destroying the very thing that they say they want. Again, there's one covenant of grace, multiple administrations, and the most complex administration, as we said last week, is the Mosaic. Because the Mosaic isn't a later addition, 430 years later. It's a superimposition, we might say. That's what one of our teachers used to say. And it's full of these types and shadows that didn't exist yet under Abraham and all of these laws, 613 laws. Now, circumcision obviously is Abrahamic institution, but as you said, it's a sacrament of the covenant of grace. It has the same function under the types and shadows, properly understood, as baptism. It's a witness to grace. It's a promise of grace. It's not a legal thing, right? There are consequences, but it's not a covenant of works. It's a covenant of grace. The Judaizers then corrupted it and turned it into a covenant of works, a do this and live thing, rather than a sign and seal of God's gracious promise to his people. And so Paul's trying to sort all that out But the Abrahamic covenant is still in force. The Mosaic expired. Everything that is distinctively Mosaic expired with the cross. And Acts shows us that, for example, in chapter 10. All of those ceremonies are done and symbolized by the fact that we can now eat shellfish if we want, if you like that sort of thing. So we talked about that.
As you should like.
You mean sea bugs?
Exactly.
I don't care. Those bugs are tasty.
Better than bed bugs.
Snow crab.
Crawfish and all that stuff.
Crawfish not worth the work that you have to put into it.
No.
One man's opinion. Also,
now,
the flavor's not
Harrison, being from the South, might feel differently about crawfish.
Mud bugs?
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. If you pull it out of the ocean and or freshwater, some exceptions. If you pull a shellfish out of the water and fry it, I'm likely to eat it.
Right, yeah.
Of course,
You don't like them raw?
You're from the South. You'll eat almost anything that's been fried. Come on.
He likes possum, coon.
No.
Twinkies.
What else?
No, come on. Come on. We know how to cook well enough in the South that we don't need Twinkies.
Nutria.
That's a thing at the Iowa State Fair. Is fried
That's
Twinkies.
a big thing in Louisiana now because they're invasive, trying to get rid of them. So they're turning it into a culinary. Well, they're trying to make it edible. So I have a question about translation. I agree with all the things that you guys have said. And so unless you have more to add to that, I have a question about translation.
Okay.
There are several different options depending on what version of the Holy Scriptures you're using. One is guardian, that's in the ESV. Another is tutor, trainer, pedagogue, so just leaving it as it is and then letting the minister do the work. Guardian, disciplinarian, guide, pathfinder, preceptor, child conductor. What do you... Oh, here's one. Here's one.
What? Who said child conductor?
Let's see.
That doesn't land well in 2026, I don't think.
Young's literal translation.
Interesting.
I'm just scrolling through every possible.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying these are good translations, but tutor slave. I mean, that's maybe the most literal besides pedagogue itself. Schoolmaster. So what do you think is the best translation? And then I'll tell you what I think it is.
When you said, just transliterate it and let the minister explain it, that's my preferred approach. I wish the translators would do less sometimes.
I imagine that I think we probably have to explain it, whatever word's there. Yeah. You don't have to argue with the translation. You just explain what it means.
If you were in charge of it, though, if it was up to Harrison, Dr. Perkins, to say, what word are we going to put in here?
My instinct is pedagogue, but at the same time, I also understand that has, unless you know Greek, that has almost no resonance as a word.
I agree
with you.
That's why people need to listen to the Heidelcast so they can understand these things.
Or to their pastor.
Instructor, an instructor, I think could, which I think is the point of tutor.
Schoolmaster.
Yeah.
So would the best thing to do just transliterate it and then have a footnote, direct us to the bottom of the page, and then it gives all these other options, and then it says ask your pastor. Who hopefully went to a good seminary.
I wish we had fewer footnotes usually. I fear that undermines people's confidence in their English Bible, which I don't want. I mean, I'm not saying no footnotes. I don't want a lot of explanatory footnotes.
It is a challenging to be sympathetic to the translator because I've done some translating and it's hard to, what one word can I pick in English that will signal something that is true and helpful to the English only reader. And obviously people are going to disagree. They're going to nitpick the way I am nitpicking. I mean, guardian emphasizes a sort of, it seems to me, a protecting aspect. And I don't think that's foremost in what Paul's intending.
I think one of the things that, especially in this verse for this point, is that Moses is complicated in the sense that it has layers.
Yes.
And it does multiple things. And that's why I think it's inevitable that you have to explain it because there's a valid sense in which the law was marking out this people.
Yes.
Guarding them as the people of God, not because it's a condition in that sense, but guarding them as a boundary of a visible church, essentially.
But is that Paul's point here? I mean, that's true theologically, but is that what Paul is doing?
Well,
here?
right. And that's why I say I think inevitably you have to explain this.
Yeah. By which, at least in my case, would mean disagree. So, I mean, right? It's that is theologically true. The Mosaic Law did distinguish the people, and in an important sense, it did protect them from in a sense, from the surrounding world and single them out and so forth. But I don't think that's what he's doing with it here in this particular context.
One of the things that I think is a problem here is because one of the issues when we come to like the issue in the previous episode about the Mosaic Covenant's relationship to the covenant of works is we can slip into the mistake about arguing if the Mosaic Law had the third use function to guide and I just want to say, of course it did.
Yes.
But the debate is about if it merely
that's right.
did that or if it had additional functions as well. And so if the Mosaic Law didn't have the function to guide the life of faithfulness, then that would be an antinomian position. But that's not my position, at least. No. I don't think it's the position of anybody on this. It's just I object to the notion that it simply or merely had the third use function.
Yeah. So, listener, really quickly, in traditional, really Reformation theology, but certainly in traditional Reformed theology, the law is said to have three uses. And one of them is the pedagogical use, whereby we learn the greatness of our sin and misery. Another use is the civil use, whereby the law governs sort of general life, right? We have cops who arrest us when we commit crimes. That's the civil use of the moral law, the natural law. And then there is the normative use, which is what Harrison has been talking about, Dr. Perkins, is that the law, the third use, it's the guiding use, the normative use for the Christian. And this is just basic Christian teaching. And it's certainly Reformation teaching. It's certainly Reformed teaching. It's what we confess in our confession. So anybody who tells you that the Ten Commandments are not for today, the moral law is not for today, we're not obligated to obey the Ten Commandments, that's known as antinomianism. It means you're against the law. And we all reject that. You can't say that. The Ten Commandments are a particular witness to the moral law and really important in our understanding of things. But the New Testament repeats the Ten Commandments in substance and sometimes in word for word. And so we're still under that as a guide, not as a condition for justification, not as an instrument for justification or even for salvation. But we obey the law not to be saved or to be justified, but because we have been saved and we have been justified, or we are being saved and we have been justified. And that's what we mean by the third use of the law, or the normative use of the law. And some people want to say, well, all Paul's doing here is talking about the third use. No, he's not. He's talking about the pedagogical use in Galatians because of what the Judaizers are doing. The Judaizers are corrupting the law, trying to make the law do what it was never intended to do, at least not after the fall was intended to do. And also they're corrupting circumcision, right? Turning what was a sacrament under the types and shadows of the covenant of grace into a law work whereby we commend ourselves to God.
So the first use of the law would be the schoolmaster.
In the Heidelberg Catechism, yes. If you ask the Lutherans, no.
No, I know. I'm talking from the Reformed perspective. I'm just saying maybe a way to answer the question that I asked was about what's the best translation for the word pedagogue. Is it tutor, guardian, schoolmaster, disciplinarian, child conductor? Maybe looking at the first use of the law and saying, this is how we can do it. How about a new term? A new term, because this has come up a couple times. Moses is multi-layered. Earlier I was thinking maybe the duplex Moses, but it seems like there's more than one layer. What do you think about Moises multiplex?
Sounds like a cinema.
Okay, how about this? Moises multiliteralis, the many layers of Moses.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, my friend.
It sounds like a book. You and Harrison, you can join Harrison in your publishing endeavors.
Happy to have you.
Well, I'm not going to write it. I just wanted to think of the title.
That's the thing with Moses, is that there are multiple things going on simultaneously, and you have
multiliteralis.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a real word, but it's interesting.
You need to brush up on your Latin because it's real.
Okay.
The many layers of Moses.
Yeah, well, that's right. Your point is well taken, McScottrick.
That we need a term.
Well, no, that there are multiple layers to Moses. Well, yeah, term or not, that's the thing that people have to grasp, is that you can't flatten Moses out into one thing or the other, that he's only law or he's only an administration of the covenant of grace. As we said last time, both things are going on simultaneously, and you have to recognize both of those things simultaneously.
It's an administration of the covenant of grace that has legal features at the administrative level.
Amen. I think that's what I said last week. So that's well said.
Right, but having a term for it is clarifying. If we just have a term.
Yes, it would be if we had one that everyone could understand.
Well, we can start a term now. And then in the future.
That term is so fetch.
I'm sorry?
That term is so fetch.
Oh, you'll have to.
I'm behind it.
I don't know what that means. Fetch? I thought you didn't like dogs.
That was in Mean Girls, and Gretchen Wieners was trying to get the term fetch to be popular.
And did she succeed?
No. Which was the irony that I was aiming to mark in this situation.
Had I seen the film Mean Girls?
Yeah, what was this, in Gladiator or Patriot or Braveheart or Goodfellas? What was this movie called?
I'm sorry that you're super old and didn't see popular
and not
movies
a girl?
that I saw when they were.
And not a girl, yes.
Maybe I had a date.
Did you?
I don't. Probably not. But I could have.
I can't see Sarah taking
I could have.
taking you to Mean Girls.
Well, that's true for every.
Well, that movie came out before I knew Sarah.
Every sad, lonely guy who goes to romantic movies by himself.
It actually is a funny movie.
Although, I mean, Mean Girls is probably not a rom-com, right?
It's not.
Okay.
It actually is funny.
I'm looking this movie up to see what we're talking about here.
Yeah, what are the years of this? There's a gap of a few years when I didn't see any films, any American media, so.
Yeah, my gap is anything after 2003. Oh, that looks like Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Back before the meltdown.
Tina Fey, screenplay.
You essentially have to count it as a Saturday Night Live movie.
Oh,
It was.
Okay, Mean Girls, 2004. Yeah, dude, I was probably 18, 19.
I was pretty busy.
Yeah, I was in high
I
school.
was pretty busy.
I'm not watching Mean Girls.
I had just gotten out of the academic dean's office, but I was still pretty busy. We were doing
It was funny.
a church
It was
plan.
funny.
Listener, don't watch that.
Okay. Scott's review of the film he has not seen is don't watch that.
Thanks for listening. Tune in tomorrow for more from the Heidelcast, brought to you by Heidelberg Reformation Association.org. Don't forget, when the coin in the coffer clinks, the cost of bandwidth shrinks. Copyright Heidelberg Reformation Association. All rights reserved. This is a Heidel Media production.
The best podcast